The Oakland Raiders this past offseason and preseason have been one of the more confusing teams I can think of in recent history. A couple of seasons ago, they were on pace to win the AFC West, and it looks like they were on a crash course to face the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. Derek Carr goes down in Week 16. They lose Week 17, and they end up going 12-4, which forces them to be a wild card team. They go on the road with a backup quarterback, and they end up losing in the first round of the playoffs. Then last year comes around, they bring in beast mode. This team looks to be revamped to make another run at the postseason, and it doesn't work out. You get rid of your head coach and Jack Del Rio, and you bring in Jon Gruden. And Jon Gruden signs a massive contract, 10 years, $100 million deal. He is coming back from the booth getting paid. But I think that Jon Gruden is being overpaid. And this is where my confusion comes in, because Jon Gruden has never molded a young quarterback, and I think that that's what they expect him to do with Derek Carr. Now, Rich Gannon was the quarterback for the Raiders, Jon Gruden's first go-around with the team, and Rich Gannon was somebody that showed some flashes when he was playing for the Kansas City Chiefs and for the Minnesota Vikings. He wasn't a horrible quarterback. He showed that he could move the ball up and down the field. The problem with those other situations is that he was a placeholder. He wasn't putting fans in the seats because he wasn't a big name, and of course he was looking to draft his replacement. But he goes to the Raiders, a team that is looking for a quarterback, and they got one in Rich Gannon, and now you have Jon Gruden, and this team was doing a lot better than what they did the previous 10 years in the league. This team was going 8-8 consistently, and the hype around this team was pretty phenomenal back in the early 2000s, late 90s. But Jon Gruden had a veteran quarterback in that situation. Yeah, he had a veteran quarterback with Brad Johnson. And he's never really molded a young quarterback. And we can all argue that, hey, Derek Carr's not like a rookie. He's been in the league for a few years now. You know, you can class him as a veteran, and I see that. But Derek Carr, he's had one really good year, a couple of mediocre years, and maybe you could call last year a down year. I wouldn't go that far to say it's a down year, but he hasn't shown that he is a consistent top 6, top 7 quarterback in this league. You could say he's maybe top 10, but I think he has the potential to be a top 5 quarterback in this league. Like, I really do. His ceiling, to me, is still so high that if he can reach it, he will definitely be a top 5 quarterback in this league. I don't know if Jon Gruden can help him get there, though, because when Jon Gruden was in Tampa Bay, they did draft 2 young quarterbacks, Chris Sims and Josh Freeman, and it didn't really work out. And of course, then he's on ESPN talking football and broadcasting the Monday night games. So is he the right fit for this team? I don't know. I do know that Khalil Mack has been the best player on the team. Khalil Mack, without a doubt, was the most consistent and best player on this team, and I'm confused to why you couldn't get a deal done. They say that they're looking towards the future, and they're going to have to re-sign Amari Cooper, and that's another thing that's a tad bit confusing. Again, I think that Amari Cooper could be one of the top receivers in this game if he can put it all together. Last year, he had some drop issues, and I really think that Crabtree over the past couple of years have outplayed him. I'm not going to say Crabtree is a better talent, but I do think that Crabtree has outplayed Amari Cooper the last couple of seasons. But Crabtree is no longer there. You get rid of him, and I think the reason why you get rid of him is because of his attitude. It's the same reason why you get rid of Marquette King, but it's like Jon Gruden's dealt with attitudes before, and it worked out. Like, the goal here is to win championships, right? And you win a championship with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with guys with pretty big personalities in Keyshawn Johnson, and you also had Warren Sapp on that team. And talking about the defense of the Bucs, that's why they won that Super Bowl with Jon Gruden. Jon Gruden didn't really turn the offense into a juggernaut. You still had Brad Johnson being Brad Johnson. Keyshawn was a good receiver, but it wasn't like he turned Brad Johnson's career around and made him an all-pro caliber quarterback. You still won with defense. Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Rondé Barber, John Lynch. Like, those 4 guys could be in the Hall of Fame. Rondé Barber might be a little bit of a question mark, but Brooks, Sapp already in there, and I think John Lynch will be in there one day. But you didn't win with offense is my point. And now you have a stud at defensive end. Somebody that could probably be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and you don't want to pay him. You're saying, well, his play on defense didn't really help our defense because our defense was so bad. I mean, Khalil Mack is one guy. He's one guy, but he was somebody that was top 3 in quarterback pressures every single year of his career for the most part. And now he's gone. You never really gave him another running mate. I like Bruce Irvin, but Bruce Irvin wasn't like just lighting the world on fire coming off of the edge. It was Khalil Mack and basically everybody else. So I think this team is in a rebuilding stage, a rebuilding point in their Raider run with Derek Carr. But I don't think that they see it just yet. And if they are in a rebuilding state, this is where my confusion comes in even more, because the Raiders haven't historically been one of the best drafting teams. Outside of Tim Brown, who they drafted over like 20-something years ago, Nnamdi Asomugha, who they drafted back in 2003, and then Khalil Mack in the first round. Those are the only first-round picks that have really panned out. Tim Brown's in the Hall of Fame. Nnamdi was an All-Pro, and Khalil Mack was the first ever All-Pro at 2 different positions in the same year. So those really worked out. And then in the second round of that same draft, we got Khalil Mack. You got your quarterback of the future in Derek Carr. And you also picked up Amari Cooper in the first round the very next season. But the rest of the drafts in Raiders history really haven't been that good. So I think they're banking on the fact that McKenzie can find some more studs in the draft. And I hope for the Raiders' sake that they're right, because you picked up 2 first-round picks and you could bounce back really quick if you hit on those 2 first-round picks. And who am I to say that they can't do it? Just history has proven, and not just for the Raiders, but it's hard to draft in the NFL. It's not like the NBA where a lot of times the first guy taken is going to be a stud for the most part. It's going to have a pretty long career, whether they are living up to their potential or not. In football, we can see guys not be in the league after a while, even though they were drafted in the first round. You really don't see that too many times in basketball and other sports, but usually the first round pick in NFL isn't a guarantee like it is in other sports. So I'm hoping for the Raiders that they can hit on these draft picks. I don't think that was the smartest move to get rid of your best player, especially when Derek Carr and Amari Cooper, who I guess now are the 2 best players on the team and have the biggest potential on the team, are coming off of down years. And in the past, we've seen that Jon Gruden's offense hasn't really been, as far as his playbook is concerned, his offensive playbook isn't the easiest to digest and the easiest to execute when it's in year 1. But I hope for the Raiders' sake that they know what they're doing. I hope for Raider Nation that these guys know what they're doing. But I do think that this team is in a rebuild, whether they know it or not. And that's another confusing thing, is because, again, 2 years ago, they looked like they could have been a Super Bowl team.